Jai Gurudev, are you or have you been ever addicted to anything? Or do you know anybody who is addicted to anything or to anybody? In this video, I will explain where addictions come from and also how to get rid of them. Addiction is nothing else than a strong attachment. And we all are attached to something or somebody. So if we want to understand where addiction comes from, we have to understand what attachment is. In the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Krishna explained the root of attachment already 5,000 years ago. He says in chapter 2, verse 62, "When one deliberates upon sense objects, attachment to them arises. From attachment comes desire, from desire comes anger." So in this verse, we can very clearly see what is the root of attachment and therefore also addiction. Krishna describes that when our senses, like our eyesight, our smell, our taste, our hearing, our touch, focuses on the object of the senses and derives pleasure from them, then an attachment to them is created. It sounds a bit complex maybe, but it's very simple. It's like when you take a piece of chocolate. You take a piece of chocolate, you put it in your mouth. The pleasure which you get is the pleasure which you derive from the sense of taste. This information of pleasure is stored into your mind. And as we all seeking pleasures or better happiness, we want more of this good feeling. And therefore, especially when we feel down, we go back to those things which we have memorized as something which makes us feel good. If again we give this information of pleasure to our mind, this attachment gets strengthened. And this goes on till the attachment becomes strongly and anchored and becomes actually an addiction. Now, if your only problem is that you eat a little bit too much chocolate, then you're probably not so bad off. But the same concept you can apply to anything in this world. In fact, the greater pleasure you have, the more you get attached. That means when you have more senses involved in a pleasure, let's say you see a beautiful thing, you can smell it, you can taste it, you can hear beautiful sounds together with this situation, and you might even be able to touch it. If you have all 5 senses involved, the attachment increases. If one of your sense organs receives pleasure, the attachment is of that size. If 2 senses are involved, the attachment increases. If 3 senses are involved, it increases even more. If 4 senses are involved, even more. And if all senses are involved, the attachment becomes even bigger. That's why it is said that sex is, for example, one of the main attachments of human beings. Because in sex, you can satisfy all the 5 senses and derive pleasure from all 5 of them. And that's why it's also so dangerous when you consume drugs. Because drugs alter your state of mind, and some of them increase or change the intensity of your sense perception. And so you might perceive more and more pleasure in certain things. All this information is again stored in your mind. You remember that moment of feeling good and you want more of it. That's how it works. Once you have a pleasure, attachment is created. So attachment leads to desire. And when your desires get fulfilled, then you want more of the fulfillment of those desires, which leads you to greed. On the other hand, if you don't get what you desire, or if you lose what you desire, then you might get angry. This knowledge of how attachment works, how our human mind works, is known to all the great companies which try to sell us things. For example, in India, there was no custom or culture of drinking tea before the British occupation. When the Brits came to India, they started to plant tea all over because they had a culture of drinking tea. And as India has a lot of people, they thought that is a great market. So they started to go to the villages and give tea for free. People tasted the tea and had a good feeling. This was repeated a few times, and little by little, people created an attachment. So now you can also charge a little bit of money. So in the beginning, they charged maybe 1 paisa or 1 cent, little money. And step by step, you can increase the price because the attachment, the longing for this thing is increasing. Nowadays, you go to a hotel in India, you can pay even a few hundred rupees for just a mere cup of tea. The same thing you have in Europe. There's people who can't live without their morning coffee. Well, how was your life before you started to drink coffee? It is just a habit which started by having pleasures, having the program of this gives me happiness. That created an attachment, and that attachment can lead to an addiction. So how can we break free of an addiction? Well, firstly, we have to understand how this process functions, how our mind functions. And then we can be a little bit more careful. So if you notice that you start to get too attached to something, if you can't be without certain things anymore, then you should start to watch out. If you see that you consume or do something habitually every day, which might not be the best habit, then you should consider that you are already close to be addicted. In that moment, just renounce that things for a certain time. Renounce it and fill that space which you created with something else. Like, for example, some spiritual practice. You see, my spiritual master, Paramahamsa Vishwananda, always says that life is a constant process of detaching and attaching. We can't stay without attachment. So what we have to do is, little by little, we have to detach from the temporary things and temporary pleasures of this world and attach ourselves to the eternal pleasures of spirituality, to the eternal pleasure of our true self, of love, of our relationship with the Absolute. The problem is not to enjoy sense pleasures. The problem is the attachment which is created. And when that attachment becomes stronger, if we are not aware of it, then we might fall for an addiction. And little by little, we become enslaved by it. But we are not supposed to be enslaved, because our true essence is free. So to break free, we have to focus on this true essence. We have to be aware of the dangers of attachment. You can use the same mechanics of your mind, of pleasure and attachment, also on the spiritual field. Once you do your spiritual practice, if you start to regularly chant a mantra, you will start to feel the pleasure of that chanting. You will create an attachment, a healthy attachment, which will set you more and more free. An addiction which will set you free, not an addiction which will enslave you. If you start to practice a little bit of meditation and you get more and more into this quiet space and you experience that pleasure of being in that quiet space, that will be programmed. You will create an attachment to it. The stronger this attachment becomes, the more you will do it, the more you will grow spiritually, the more you will break free, and the less you will be enslaved. And like this, it works with every spiritual practice. Life is a constant process of detaching and attaching. Detach from these material, temporary pleasures and attach yourself to the spiritual, eternal pleasures. And like this, break free from all addictions and get closer and closer to your full potential and to your eternal relationship with the Absolute. Jai Gurudev.